What is up, guys? This is Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm bringing you guys yet another deck profile, this time being of my Prediction Princess Shaddolls for this brand new July 2015 ban list. So, a couple of you guys actually expressed an interest in me building this kind of deck for you all, as after thinking about it for a little bit, I really didn't mind getting the cards from the newest Dragons of Legend 2 set just to make this deck possible for you guys. And after testing it out a bit on YGO Pro, I actually had quite a bit of fun with it, as there are some pretty cool things that you can do with these Prediction Princesses within Shaddolls. So, enough of me talking about it, but let's get right into this brand new deck profile. Alright, so starting us off, we're going to go right into the Prediction Princess cards. Starting us off with our three of our brand new boss monster, I guess you could say. We have 3 copies of Prediction Princess Tarot Tray. Now, Tarot Tray is really cool because of the fact that, first of all, it's a ritual monster, obviously. So it's in and of itself, it's really cool because you're now running a ritual monster in Shaddolls. But the effect that she brings to the table for this deck is really crazy. So for some of you guys who might not know what the effect is, I'm actually going to read it off to you guys. So first of all, you can ritual summon this card with a Prediction Ritual. During your end phase, you can special summon one flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position. And then you can only use one of the following effects of Prediction Princess Tarot Tray once per turn and only once that turn. So during either player's turn, you can target one face down monster on the field and change it to face up attack position. And then during either player's turn, you can target one face up monster and then change it to face down defense position. So if you guys couldn't tell already, this card does quite a bit. Firstly, she can recur your Shaddolls from your grave during every one of your end phases over and over. So what she essentially does in that aspect is she keeps getting you your Shaddoll resources and ensures that you will never run out of Shaddolls to use for your fusion summons or to abuse the flip effects of and whatnot. So Tarot Tray just keeps getting you pretty much free +1s as long as she is continually face up on the field. And then, of course, just during either player's turn, you can either book a monster or flip one face up. So just that alone just makes her, she can abuse that effect on both players' turns to just so much extent that you can keep flipping up your Shaddoll monsters over and over and resetting them to use on your turn. She can book your opponent's monsters to stop plays. It's just like, hot damn, this card is amazing. I really love this card, and it just makes this deck go just right round pretty much. Moving on to the other Prediction Princess we do run, we have 2 copies of Prediction Princess Koinorma. Now, Koinorma is probably the best way for me to summarize her is she is a Shaddoll Falco that can summon things from deck. Now, what she does, in actually word for word for the text, so whenever she is flipped, you can special summon one level 3 or higher flip monster from your hand or deck in face on defense position. Also, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except Prediction Princess monsters. So, essentially what Koinorma does is she's able to set anything from Hedgehog and above from your deck to your field. So that is pretty much an easy +1 if you end up flipping her on your turn. But even if your opponent actually attacks into Koinorma after you set her, it's really cool because you can just set the monster from your deck, whichever one you may choose, and then you can usually just flip it on your turn and then you won't have that restriction from Koinorma. So again, she helps you get free +1s, and she's just also really strong. But I don't like 3 because 3 can't clog quite a bit because again she's a flip effect, so it can be kind of slow at times. So moving past the Prediction Princess monsters, going right into the Shaddolls, I actually run 2 of every relevant Shaddoll after I get them all into frame real quick. Now, I decided to only run 2 of every Shaddoll because I didn't feel like 3 of any specific one was necessary, as again, Tarot Tray will be our primary boss monster of this variant of the deck, as again, she just can do so much stuff. And because of her ability to just keep setting Shaddolls from your graveyard, I really didn't think that 3 was necessary, because basically once you see 1 in the graveyard, if you can make Tarot Tray, you can keep summoning any one of the Shaddolls that you might have in grave. So again, just because of that recursion, you really don't need 3 of any given Shaddoll. So that's why I just decided to get the minimalist route with this Shaddoll lineup and just get 2 of everything. Alright, so moving on to the more generic support for this deck, we have 3 copies of Manju. Now, I decided to go with Manju in this deck. Just again, we want to get our Tarot Tree play off as soon as we possibly can, as she is again very important to this build of the deck. And just of course, having the Manju to get the free +1 into your fusion spell or your Tarot Tree is really really nice. And he is again just your generic +1 in this deck. I also should mention I decided to put him in over Mathematician again because with Tarot Tree, once you use maybe like one Shaddoll fusion to make a fusion monster, you really don't need to like start sending monsters from your deck to your grave, as instead of doing that you can actually just again keep resetting things from your grave with Tarot Tray. So I didn't feel Mathematician was as important in this build of the deck, and I just decided to have just 3 Manju for our generic +1 normal summon. Alrighty then, after that quite bit of a mouthful I guess right there. Moving on to the other stuff, we have our 2 copies of Effect Veiler, because we don't like effects going off, we don't like Trishula, we don't like Unicorn and all that kind of scary stuff. So of course we have to have the 2 Veiler. Then we have our 3 big boss monsters, and notice I did say 3. We have 1 copy of Christia, 1 copy of BLS, and 1 copy of Dark Arm. Now, Dark Arm and BLS are fairly standard in the Shaddoll boss monsters. Of course, really, Shaddolls can make them pretty consistently, so whenever you do draw them, you can't usually make them right there. And then we also have the Christia, because all the Prediction Princess monsters we do run are all fairies, as well as this card right here is also a fairy. So because of that, we do run quite a few of them, so we do run the 1 Christia in here, just to have a sort of Jinlock of our own, even though that play is long gone. But yeah, we also do have the 1 Christia to just act as a sort of lock for our deck. Alrighty, so that will round us off for the monster lineup, which was actually took me quite a while to explain. I'm sorry about that. Moving on to the spells, we start off with our 3 fusion spells, which is 3 copies of Prediction Ritual. Now, Prediction Ritual is really cool for the fact that whenever you use it to summon your Tarot Tray, you can actually banish it from your grave, except the turn that it was sent there, and you can add another Prediction Princess monster from your deck to your hand. So it essentially can pay for itself if your Tarot Tray ends up getting stopped somehow. But if your Tarot Tree ends up not getting stopped, you can actually just use the Prediction Ritual to just get free pluses. So again, this deck is all about just generating free advantage continually, as long as your big boss monster is on the field, and Prediction Ritual does, again, help with those +1s. Moving on, we go right into the Shaddoll Fusion cards. We have our 3 copies of Shaddoll Fusion, and then our 3 copies of L Shaddoll Fusion. Now, I felt compelled to run Shaddoll Fusion at 3 in this list, again, because we are not running the Mathematician. I wanted to have another sort of outlet to foolish my Shaddolls into the grave whenever I can, so that's why I did decide to bump up the Shaddoll Fusion back to 3 in this deck. And then, of course, L Shaddoll Fusion at 3 is pretty standard. It's the best fusion out of the 2, so of course we have to run that one at 3. Moving on, we have our 1 copy of Allure of Darkness, just to help us dig through our deck so that we can see our ritual plays. Then we have the 1 copy of Foolish Burial to act as another sending outlet for us, so that we cannot, so that we can, get our Shaddoll cards going and whatnot. Then we have the 1 copy of Book of Moon, because Book is really, really good, and you can actually use this to reuse your Manjus. And then finally we have the 1 Raigeki, because this deck can put a lot of damage on board. So of course having the Raigeki just to board nuke our opponent is really, really nice. So that will be it for our spell lineup. Moving on to the trap cards, we'll have 2 copies of Sinister Shadow Games to start us off. Of course, because this deck does strive to keep abusing our flip effects over and over and over, having the Sinister Shadow Games to, again, just keep letting us abuse those flip effects is really, really nice. Then, following that, we have the 1 copy of Shaddoll Core for just general, just utility, of course. And I should also mention that Core is really, really cool in this deck, for the fact that if you do end up summoning Core, activating and then setting it in defense mode on your side of the field, it's really cool because Shaddoll Core is a level 9, and this card right here is a level 9. So basically, if you ever can summon Shaddoll Core, you can actually use this for the whole tribute for your Prediction Princess ritual, and then you can just summon Tower Tree just by using Core, and then on top of that, you also get Core's effect, which is really, really cool. Then finally, for the last trap card in our deck, we have still the 1 copy of Vanities, just for a general floodgate that is still very, very strong. And that will be the card that will round off our 40-card main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we have, again, the pretty standard Shaddoll Fusion lineup. We have our 3 copies of Nephilim right here. We have our 2 copies of Window for stuff like Burning Abyss and whatnot. And then we have our Onoya Talus and our Shekinaga. Again, this is, the standard Shaddoll lineup, really. There is not much variation to this. I was considering bumping up Shekinaga to 2, but after thinking about it for a little bit, there wasn't enough Earths to sustain a double Shekinaga, so I did decide to just keep it at 1, and again, just kept the general idea for the Shaddoll Fusion lineup. Alrighty then, so moving on to these synchros, we actually run quite a few this time around. We'll start off with the one copy of Star Eater, just to act as an Apocryphal Towers out, because again, Apocryphal Towers Turbo is indeed a deck, so we don't want to go and have a deck without any sort of out. So that is why we do have the one Star Eater, and I should say that it is more easy to make Star Eater in this variant of the deck, because of the fact that, first of all, you do have the Tarot Tray, so you can use Falco and Tarot Tray to make Star Eater, as well as, again, we do have the one core, so we can always use the Falco and the core to make Star Eater. Alright then, moving on, we have our level 10 Synchro, which is the one copy of Leo, because Leo is, of course, really, really strong against things like Burning Abyss and whatnot, so we gotta have the one Leo for that kind of stuff. Then we have the one Arcanite Magician, because just free destruction, and on top of that, it's a light monster, so we can also use it for our Nephilim fodder. Then we have the one copy of Clearwing, because we don't like Necros, and we don't like especially the Necros of Trishula. So, of course, having Clearwing to stop those cards is really, really good. Then we have the one copy of Goyo Guardian, because he probably is the best level 6 Synchro out there right now, also along with Sahemith, but again, I prefer Goyo just because he is a little bit more offensive. And then finally, for the last Synchro we do play, we have the one Armades, because we have Koinorma and Falco, as well as Hedgehog and Falco, so we can make Armades every so often. So that will do it for our Synchros. And then finally for the XYZs, we just have two. We have just two rank 4s, which is the one copy of Castel and the one copy of E-Knight. Just because these are general really good rank 4s, of course. And having just good rank 4s every so often for just simple removal and or just board nuking is always really convenient. Alrighty then, guys, that is gonna be it, I guess, for this Prediction Princess Shaddoll deck profile. I hope you all did enjoy, and if I can say anything about this deck, again, I really would recommend you trying this out, because this deck is pretty bonkers with some of the plays that it can do, and it's just so much fun. And like, again, I've been saying a little bit that I've been trying to look for other variants to play of Shaddolls, just besides my usual Star Seraph build, and I do believe that I'm probably going to be playing this variant of Shaddolls for a little bit now, just because I found it just to be so much fun. So again, I would definitely recommend you guys all try this out, and I guess that'll end it from here. As always, this will be Kyurem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Peace out.